Jason Hawk is my name. I reside in the Upper Sun Desert in southern Arizona. We've lived here for a long time. Fans of mountain men experienced a devastating day on January 28, 2025. At the age of 49, Jason Hawk, the tough blacksmith renowned for his artistry and grit, went away. He taught us what it means to live off the land, with talent and soul for 5 seasons that will never be forgotten. Behind the fame, however, was a guy who was fighting against more than just the wild. We examine Jason Hawk's life, legacy, and tragic demise in greater detail today. Fans were moved to tears by this tale, and the community was permanently altered. Body. Jason Hawk's terrible death. Fans and family alike were rudely shocked by Jason Hawk's passing. The public was aware of his sickness, but many were unaware that it would ultimately claim his life. His unassuming presence on the History Channel's Mountain Men has had a significant impact on the reality TV show. He is well known for his work as a blacksmith and bladesmith. He has long been regarded as a dedicated family man who enjoys the outdoors and is a talented craftsman. According to the article, he received a cancer diagnosis in 2021, which caused his health to deteriorate. Even though the public was aware of this information, nobody is aware of his subsequent health status. By early July 2024, his condition had significantly worsened. Jason was reportedly transported by EMS to Mercy Hospital in Fort Smith, Arkansas, following weeks of sickness and frequent vomiting that caused him to lose 20 pounds. He had been experiencing stomach pain, lightheadedness, and dehydration. A CT scan showed suspicious lumps in his lungs and abdomen, which seemed to be a return of his prior malignancy. Additionally, a biopsy revealed scar tissue and a tumor obstructing his lower intestine. By restoring his digestion with a bypass, surgeons gave him a chance at recovery. Jason's strength continued to deteriorate after the procedure, and he was reportedly later admitted to the intensive care unit. At one point, a splenic hematoma was also observed. A blood clot surrounding the spleen is called a splenic hematoma. He was experiencing the worst pain he had ever experienced, even though it wasn't bleeding. Following a battery of testing, the medical team verified a cancer, returned by mid-July 2004. Although the precise form of cancer was not made public, doctors thought the disease had progressed to his abdomen and lungs. They observed intestinal blockage brought on by the scar tissue and tumor. To treat this urgent problem, surgeons performed a second bypass. On July 5, 2024, a second biopsy was conducted to determine whether the lung tumor was malignant and to further describe the course of the disease. These tests' outcomes were unknown to the general population. Additionally, no public posts mentioned stage details, metastases to other organs, or a clear death prognosis. But it was evident from the tone of the information circulated online that the outlook was bleak. Jason's wife, Mary, sent messages via GoFundMe and consistently posted updates on Facebook and Instagram. Yes, she created a GoFundMe page so that friends, family, and the Mountain Men community could provide them financial support in the form of donations and prayers. Throughout this period, she consistently shared on social media about her pain, thankfulness, and faith. She also requested for ongoing prayers and expressed regret for not providing enough updates and direct medical quotations from Jason's doctors. They were earnest prayers. Physicians tried their best. But according to a Facebook memorial posted by Jason Hawk's wife, Jason was no longer able to fight. She confirms Jason's death and shares his last wish. At the age of 49, he died on January 28, 2025, at home in Arkansas, surrounded by his loved ones. According to the doctor's diagnosis, his fight with cancer, likely the same illness that returned in 2024, caused internal tumors, including an intestinal blockage, which was the primary cause of his death. Mary stated that he died after a protracted battle, but she did not say if he suffered from organ failure or any other issues. Mary used a tone that was both melancholy and kind when she announced Jason's death through Facebook group posts, followed by the release of a YouTube video and memorial content. She frequently referred to Jason as her closest friend and talked about the loss in the home. She said in the video that he died quietly and that she was incredibly appreciative of the community's support. Instead of reading a prepared statement word for word, she spoke from the heart, thanking all who contributed and stating, "He is the most courageous man I've ever known." The family has chosen to honor Jason's passing with a private burial service that will only include family and friends. The burial specifics were never disclosed to the public. Neither formal release channels nor public newspapers carried an obituary. Mary's posts and online tributes did not include specific locations, guest lists, eulogies, or service initiatives. Fans and well-wishers recognized their predicament, in spite of all, and kept praying. Following Mary's announcement, virtual memorials, prayer chains, donations to his GoFundMe for medical expenditures, and notes of gratitude for his craft and character were all sent out by mountainman fans and survivalist communities. Videos from tribute channels highlighted his ability to stay grounded and modest, despite his sickness. Although it was tragic that Jason passed away, his legacy lived on. Jason Hawk is who? How prosperous is he both personally and professionally? Over the years, a lot of admirers have posed these queries. So buckle up as we explore the life of the legendary bladesmith. Jason Hawk's early years. Born Patrick Baldwin, Jason Hawk was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas, in June 1975. His parents were Jim Baldwin, a former Army Special Forces instructor who went on to become a carpenter and artist, and Andrea Baldwin, an artist and equine therapist. In recognition of his years of skydiving, his father took the surname Hawk, and Jason later acquired the same name as an adult. Jason inherited and cultivated his parents' creative abilities and narrative skills throughout his childhood. Jason spent his early years between Nevada and California. Along with his younger sister Jordan and older brother Damon, he grew up in a close-knit family. His lifestyle was later influenced by his early love of horseback riding and exploring the mountain and desert environments. His father's elaborate carvings exposed him to traditional survival skills and craftsmanship at a young age. His craft was inspired by improvised tools and raw local patterns, and he had a strong foundation in both artistic and military discipline. In a beach accident, Jason lost his brother Damon, which devastated him and interrupted his upbringing. When Jason experienced that anguish, he was just 8 years old. He lived his entire childhood with his brother. He was more than just a coworker or someone Jason saw on a daily basis. Damon was his pillar of support, his ally, and his creative collaborator. His untimely demise had a profound effect on the family and marked a turning point in Jason's early years. They moved to Cuchara, Colorado, a few years later, where Jason and Jordan were employed as caregivers on the Yellow Pine Guest Ranch. At the age of 15, they obtained their Wrangler licenses and began leading elk hunters into the backcountry. Jason furthered his wilderness living abilities by frequently staying behind at camp to help with logistics and cooking. Despite the challenges of living in the Rocky Mountains, Jason was able to hone his hunting, trapping, and independence abilities there. He became close friends with classmates in the tiny village of Cuchara who were as interested in frontier history and traditional crafts as he was. Together, they worked long winter nights, creating custom outfits and accessories for special occasions, like date evenings. Soon after, Jason completed his high school education and embarked on a journey across the United States. Before relocating to Montana, he traveled and lived in many places for a number of years. He continued honing his survival and independence abilities, while living in remote living quarters in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. He worked as a manager and cook at Dos Amigos in Kalispell, and then as a supervisor at Santa Fe Reds in Bozeman, to support himself because life was difficult. Jason also improved his knowledge of metal fabrication and participated in a welding program during this time, which would help him in his future work as a professional bladesmith. Jason put a lot of effort into studying and honing his craft during his early years. That served as the basis for his subsequent excellence. This knife's design is merely my interpretation of an early Saxon knife. Although not in the wild, Colorado is actually where Jason's career officially started. Jason never pursued hunting, blacksmithing, or any of the other skills he had acquired over the years, despite what people believed he would do. Rather, he became a professional chef and entered the restaurant business. Leaving his forest roots behind, he started working as a professional chef in kitchens, and he was noticeable even there. Jason was still working at the Montana restaurant, where he was pursuing his career and taking advantage of every chance to showcase his handcrafted knives. Customers and other chefs noticed. Jason returned to homesteading and bladesmithing full-time, when his blade's artistic quality immediately attracted notice. At one point, Jason started selling bespoke blades, the blending of pragmatism, identity, and craftsmanship. He was no longer only making ends meet. Instead, he was establishing a reputation that served as the cornerstone of a more extensive endeavor to uphold traditional values in a contemporary society. Jason's call to the woods persisted even after he became a successful chef and received a lot of attention. Far from professional kitchens, gleaming stoves, and clinking pans, His heart was still in the woods. He then made the decision to go to Arizona in order to heed the call of destiny. There, he adopted a more self-sufficient way of living and established a life in the harsh American Southwest deserts, where survival was difficult due to the lack of water and extreme heat. Living in some of the most hostile areas in America, Jason worked side by side with his father and raised his family in a traditional manner that was authentic, simple, and difficult. Jason had a unique force of attraction, yet life was hard. His distinctive lifestyle quickly caught the attention of History Channel executives, and Jason made his debut in 2014. Men who lived in some of America's harshest settings on the No Man's Land platform were the subject of the show. Jason was a fan. He was shown in his scenes making tools over fire, teaching his children how to survive in the desert, and manually extracting water from the wells. He was well liked by the audience because of his genuineness, practical expertise, and composed demeanor. Despite the brief existence of No Man's Land, Jason left a lasting impression. Through the No Man's Land platform, Jason gained national recognition and made an impression on History Channel producers. Jason soon discovered that survival was becoming more and more challenging due to the heat, remote location, and scarcity of natural resources in Arizona. He needed to think about his expanding family, and he was aware that he needed a better environment, one where the land was more productive. The seasons were more forgiving, and there were more opportunities to live off the grid in order to maintain his way of life and teach his kids his talents. Jason Hawk and his family packed up their belongings and moved to the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas at the beginning of 2015. This was a practical and spiritual reset. Numerous forests for hunting and trapping, running water, and good terrain for cultivation were among the advantages. Additionally, a pleasant environment with 4 distinct seasons provides greater equilibrium than Arizona's intensely hot and cold climate. A self-sufficient, isolated lifestyle that is remote enough to live off the grid is also necessary. Jason used local wood to hand-build a cabin on Ozark Mountain. He set up a forge, carried on with his blacksmithing, and started living on a homestead with his daughter River and wife Mary. Malign Rose, their second daughter, was later born. They spent their days gathering food, tanning hides, cutting wood, and making everything from scratch. Another significant turning point in Jason's life occurred in Arkansas. Recalling his captivating appearance on No Man's Land, History Channel executives reached out to him one more. This time, the focus was on growing the cast of Mountain Men, which was already becoming popular due to its honest, real-life accounts of survivalists across the nation, rather than casting a new program. They had heard that Jason had moved to the Ozarks, homesteaded from scratch, and established a blacksmith forge. They are aware of his dedication to using rudimentary skills and subsistence living, and they know he was providing for his family in this manner. He was just what the program required. Without further ado, Jason became a member of the Mountain Men, cast in Season 5 of 2016. Viewers were enthralled by Jason's handcrafted knives and equipment, his calm, concentrated demeanor, the stunning but unpredictable Ozark wilderness, and his dedication to family survival. When he first appeared on Mountain Men, he was methodical, talented, and patient rather than ostentatious or arrogant. The fact that Jason wasn't just acting like a mountain guy for the cameras was adored by the audience. He was authentic, and his plot added a fresh element to the series. He was a young father attempting to bring up his family in the traditional manner, a desert transplant, and an artisan blacksmith. Jason compared his new surroundings to his previous life in the desert in the first episode of Mountain Men, pointing out that the Arkansas woodlands were rich, dense, and teeming with everyday opportunities. His versatility, inventiveness, and practical understanding of wilderness hunting were all highlighted in the program. Jason considered the difficulties of making it through his first actual winter in the woods. He underlined the value of firewood as a source of heat, light, and cooking in the absence of running water or electricity. The clip reinforced the show's central message of family resilience by showing him closely collaborating with his daughter River to chop and stack wood. According to Jason, living this way was about concentrating on leading a basic life, fostering relationships with family, and overcoming obstacles together rather than just being off-grid. The tone for his portrayal throughout the series was established by his introduction and early episodes, which showed him as a talented craftsman who was devoted to traditional living and a family man who navigated life with fortitude and purpose. Between his arrival in 2016 until his retirement from Mountain Men in 2021, due to his illness, Jason Hawk made 49 appearances in seasons 5 through 10. His appearances chronicled his path homesteading, his move to Arkansas, and the day-to-day hardships of living off the grid. Because of its realism and emphasis on survival, family, and workmanship, Jason's appearance on the show struck a chord with viewers. Although Jason had been making blades professionally long before he appeared on television, his work became more widely known during and after his tenure on Mountain Men. Jason Blades started his professional career in 1999. Taigu, the founder of Neo-Tribal Metal Myths, served as his mentor, and he finally became a master. Outlaw Forge Works was founded by Jason, who sells hand-forged tools and knives on his website, jasonhawkknives.com. He emphasizes indigenous designs and traditional methods. His products gained attention among survivalists and bladesmiths due to their rich historical and functional influences. Jason also made the most of his product marketing by teaching knife manufacturing and traditional techniques at gatherings like Winter Count, which encouraged knowledge exchange across craft communities. Despite his dedication to his Mountain Men show, his ability to multitask and balance actual business, bladesmithing, and Mountain Man demonstrates how much he values his principles and hard work. He was a very diligent individual. Jason gained popularity among viewers as the seasons progressed. His hand-forged tools and blades were applauded by the audience, and his inventiveness in hunting and trapping, as well as his do-it-yourself attitude from tanning hides to constructing smokeasses, were not to be overlooked. He still remembered his intense affection for Mary and their daughters, though. Jason was a well-rounded family man who succeeded in whatever he tried. Even as the physical toll of survival took its toll, the exposure on Mountain Men allowed him to expand his forge and support his family. Around this time, he experienced one of the worst nightmares of his life. Let's take a quick look at Jason's personal life before we examine that. Jason Hawk's private life. Jason was a straightforward individual who was easy to relate to. He still keeps a lot of details about his personal life private, though, particularly when it comes to his family. While residing in Montana, he wed Erin Meeks, his first wife. During the late 1990s and early 2000s, Jason worked as a chef in Bozeman and Kalispell, while honing his welding and bladesmithing abilities in Montana. He met and married Erin Meeks at this time. They divorced after a few years of marriage. Jason then went back to Arizona to work with his father in their shared studio and get back in touch with his roots. Jason's restlessness and growing interest in wilderness crafting, which Erin did not share, are perhaps the reasons behind their divorce. Jason's quest for self-identity began with his first marriage to Erin Meeks. He developed a bond in his early years as a traveling chef and aspiring metalworker. He had the opportunity to start over when he and his father moved to Arizona, which marked a more significant transition toward forging, craftsmanship, and a nomadic lifestyle. After moving to Arizona with his father, it seemed that love was waiting for Jason. Or was it just another error? Let's find out then. Jason married Iko Watanabe, a Japanese student at Northern Arizona UNIS, whom he met in Arizona. Around 2005, he was fortunate to have a gorgeous boy named Kamui Kai. Later, in 2008, Kai moved to Arkansas to live with Jason full-time, and he has demonstrated a strong desire to learn bladesmithing from his father. The public knew very little about Ikuko or the eventual breakdown of her relationship with Jason. Jason and Mary's subsequent marriage, however, indicates that their divorce was completed. The good news is that Jason had his first child, Kai, from his second marriage to Ikuko Watanabe. Even though there is little documentation of their relationship and ultimate divorce, Kai had a significant impact on Jason's later years. By taking up his father's history of bladesmithing and moving back to the family's homestead in Arkansas, Jason had a difficult dating history, yet he never gave up on love. There is a person for everyone, as demonstrated by his subsequent experience. Jason's life took a drastic turn in 2007. At Winter Count, a rudimentary skills gathering, he met Mary Frickian. Their eyes connected and briefly glowed as they were sparked up around the bonfire. At first sight, it was love. Their love of outdoor life, storytelling, and traditional craftsmanship brought them together. As their bond became stronger over time, they were legally wed in October 2014. They had already begun their lives together before that, and on December 29, 2008, they welcomed their daughter River into the world. In 2016, they moved to the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas, after embracing off-grid living together and establishing roots in rural Arizona. Jason partnered with Mary, a herbalist and grid specialist, in homesteading, soap making, herbal medicines, and raising a family. Hope and success were ignited in Jason's life by Mary. Mary said that their relationship was based on respect, admiration, and daily thankfulness, particularly when Jason's health deteriorated in his final years. As a family, they loved quiet times at home and frequently went fishing. In order to be near Mary's relatives, the family moved to Aravasa, Arizona, when River was born. There, they set up a blacksmith forge for Jason to make knives and a carving business for Jason's father. Their second daughter, Maline Rose Hawk, sometimes known as Maddie Hawk, was born to Mary later in 2018. She was born in early August 2018, while Mountain Men Season 7, Episode 4 was being filmed. The show included live coverage of her birth. Her parents called her Maddie and gave her the name Maline Rose Hawk. She weighed 20 pounds 9 ounces. They became a close-knit family focused on mutual support, creativity, and survival. They established a life based on creative purpose, herbal knowledge, and off-grid living. Jason's survival abilities were enhanced by Mary's understanding, and they both learned to be resilient and self-sufficient. The cancer illness and death of Jason Hawks. In 2020, Jason Hawks' happy and prosperous family was rocked by the news of his cancer diagnosis. It all started with chronic pain that persisted for about a year. He underwent a battery of tests before receiving a cancer diagnosis. Even after receiving intensive chemotherapy and having surgery in November 2022, Jason's health remained extremely difficult to manage. It went on in a modest manner until July 2024, when it became out of hand. Jason's extreme dehydration, lightheadedness, and substantial weight loss led to his hospitalization at Mercy Hospital in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Initially, doctors thought he had a stomach illness, but a CT scan showed abnormal tissue in his belly and lungs, which suggested a possible cancer recurrence. The malignancy was determined to have returned following a biopsy. Jason's lower intestine was encased and occluded by the tumor, necessitating surgery to remove the obstruction. The fall of 2024 saw a downturn in Jason's health. He was prescribed palliative chemotherapy and home treatment care because of his illness and ineligibility for genetic treatments. His cancer had at that point progressed to his liver, lungs, belly, and lymph nodes, among other organs. Jason soon lost his mobility, became bedridden and confined to a chair, and became completely reliant on home care. As long as he was physically capable, Jason continued to craft in his knife store despite his illness. Weekly palliative visits from sympathetic caretakers assisted his family in managing his comfort and suffering. Since all of the bills were paid for out of pocket because of insurance gaps, Mary's GoFundMe also assisted with the medical expenses. According to a last update in January 2025, Jason was no longer able to stand for longer than a minute. He passed suddenly at his Arkansas home the same January, surrounded by his loved ones. Until the end, he maintained his mental presence and dedication to his art. His last months were characterized by dignity, silent fortitude, and the encouragement of a devoted family and community. The following people survived Jason Hawk: his mother, Andrea Baldwin; his sisters, Jordan Baldwin, Jill Lott, Jimmy Joe Gann, and Julie Waller Driscoll; his aunt, Marilyn Davis; his uncle, John Baldwin; his wife, Mary Fionn; and his children, Kamui River and Maddie. Jim Hawk, his father, had already died in Arkansas in May 2016. He reportedly suffered a heart attack and died as a result. This terrible incident happened unexpectedly, according to several reports, and Jason and his family experienced a very personal loss. Before Jason died in 2025, he died. Jason Hawk left behind a few very particular final wishes prior to his death in January 2025. On their homestead, away from the spotlight, he asked his wife Mary to host a small, private memorial service. When the earth was once more alive in the spring or summer, Jason asked that the monument be built. To represent his eternal spirit, he wanted his forge to be lighted one final time, and his ashes to be scattered beneath his favorite pine tree. He requested only family, nature, and quiet, no speeches or formal attire. On June 8, 2025, a few months after his death, Mary granted his requests. There were just 15 close friends and family members present at the memorial service in the Ozark Mountains. A hand-carved wooden plaque was positioned at the base of the pine tree. His ashes were scattered to the breeze, and his forge burnt at daybreak. Just as Jason lived simply, truthfully, and with people who mattered most in his life, his last desire for a simple farewell was entirely fulfilled. Legacy and net worth. Despite battling illness for nearly 5 years, did Jason Hawk end up with anything? Naturally. Jason, who is well known for his roles on the History Channel series Mountain Men and for being a skilled homesteader and bladesmith, has made a respectable living from his own lifestyle brand. Despite the lack of statutory financial declaration, an elder, based on his work on television, sales of bladesmiths, and survival school gigs, his estimated net worth is $300,000. His anticipated yearly salary is close to $40,000. His net worth is listed as $500,000 in a subsequent story from Ball News in November 2023, which highlights his well-known knife brand, Jason Hawk Knives, and the recognition he has received from his TV appearances. According to another estimate, he is a reality celebrity, survivalist, and expert artisan, with a net worth of about $400. Even if the numbers differ slightly, they both highlight the modest but significant success Jason achieved as a result of years of perseverance and commitment to his art. Usually selling for $250 to $300 each, his handcrafted knives are forged, utilizing ancient blacksmithing processes, and constructed from scred natural materials. These blades are works of art as much as tools, resilient, practical, and imbued with the essence of nature. The main source of income for his company comes from modest but consistent sales of his knives. Jason's dedication to quality and authenticity gave his business a unique character that appealed to collectors, outdoor enthusiasts, and lovers of heritage workmanship in a market overflowing with mass-produced goods. Jason Hawk's job in television was another significant source of his fortune. He became well known throughout the world thanks to his appearances on well-liked survival and lifestyle shows like Mountain Men. His income was supplemented by appearance fees, residual payments from episodes, and the occasional offer to teach or demonstrate blacksmithing at Forging Expo's other outdoor activities. His platform grew as a result of his endeavors, which also raised awareness of ancient ways of life and archaic abilities. No publicly available data attests to his land or real estate ownership. Nonetheless, it is generally assumed that he lived in and kept up simple off-grid agrarian living quarters, consistent with his principles. His vehicles and tools were probably simple, made for durability rather than display, and his lifestyle prioritized use above dazzle. Self-reliance and simplicity, which characterized Jason's work and beliefs, were central to his life. Jason Hawk's real wealth was in his influence, not in the figures. His efforts to the preservation of ancient lifestyles, outdoor education, and primitive handicraft made a lasting impression on the expanding off-grid enthusiast and survivalist community. Jason contributed to the spread of a different lifestyle that was based on patience, the outdoors, and the timeless value of practical skills. Outlaw Forge Works, Jason's Forge, continues to represent all he stood for through his work on television and at forging events, prioritizing quality over quantity, persevering through adversity, and respecting traditional methods in a world that is changing quickly. The blades he made, the methods he conserved, and the innumerable individuals he encouraged to get back to the fundamentals are all testaments to his legacy. Living simply does not mean living tiny, as demonstrated by Jason Hawk, who is more than just a reality celebrity or blacksmith, but also a guardian of legacy. Every forged flame and tale shared over a fire by people who once followed in his footsteps bear witness to his memory. What lessons have you taken away from Jason Hawk's life and death? And how does his life and craft relate to television? Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share with us in the comments area. Share with someone by clicking the like button.